Hello, uh, Yogesh and Dean Josh. Hi there.
Hey guys,
Hi.
it's a call is going.
Hi. Yes, it's just good. Good, thank you. Yeah. Um, Came back out of the FMS presented over there on securities device attestation. So yeah, FMS went well.
Oh, nice. Where was this?
Here
FMS?
in Bay Area,
Oh,
Santa Clara.
cool, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you also present with Manju from Intel, or he presented
So
separately?
no, so in this I did alone. It was on exclusively on secure boot device attestation, and
Hmm,
then in the in the OCP conference I'll do it with them. Yeah,
nice.
journey
Very
of
cool.
an error. So one of the two talks out there for me is with them. Yeah.
Very cool.
And
Hey, see Suke. Hey, Suke, Tanya, Drew.
Hey, happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday and welcome back.
Welcome
Yeah,
back, Yogesh.
thank you, thank you.
So, Yogesh, when we're ready, we can, I don't know if there are any opens, but I want to talk about where we are on the dock when we're ready.
Okay, yeah. We can take some opens, and in the meantime, a little bit more quorum will build up, right?
Yeah, sounds
Let's see, Vilas and Senthil, welcome, folks. Hello, happy Friday. Any opens today? Actually, I want to ask about Mita. I see you. Hello, welcome. What is our plan for the glossary of terms? How do you want to proceed about that?
Hey Yogesh, so I have the document for the glossary, and it's in sync with, the FM document, the out of band in band document.
Mm-hmm.
It's already referenced in the FM document now,
Mm-hmm.
the requirements document. So in a sense, it's already reviewed because it came out of the work that was being done in the
Right.
in-band
Yeah.
requirements. But I can put the link here. There are
Okay.
just a couple of things that remain, in the sense that resets was one that Charlie had said that he would be looking at after we get the current versions published, and we probably need to add a little bit for RAS API, like definitions of
Yeah.
CPR and CPAD, CPAD
Right.
specifically.
Yeah.
So let me find the link. I just
Yeah.
read. And I'll put
And yeah, here's my thought on that, Mita. Thank you very much for driving that. My thinking is this is going to remain a living doc. We'll keep adding required definitions to it. So I'm in favor of starting the contribution process for it, because we are going to revise it as new terms are added and stuff like that. So the benefit of kind of starting that, setting that ball rolling for contribution is that will then have a permanent link to refer that in other documents.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know if, I mean, we're too tight on time for this time around. That was the
the fact that we only have to present it to uh, the hardware management leadership, which is monthly meeting. If not, I think we should be able to get it either in, I don't know, August meeting probably already took place, but in
good. Yeah, the September meeting's filling up. The problem, Yogesh, is that there are a whole lot of people coming up with things they want them to look at. Like all the different work streams have submissions for the global summit.
Right, right. Okay, you know what, Drew, we'll do our part. we'll start the workflow for that. And if it doesn't make it before, that's fine. Maybe it will make it.
That's kind of, yeah, that's my thought, because we've got, I've got the FMFM document in. There's the this document that we want to talk about. There's the RAS API. There's the poison contribution.
Yeah.
The the glossary. I think there'll be a GPU doc submission and maybe one other. So, we're talking about like.
What I can also do is let me ping Jeff and Hamel, and maybe we can have one more sync for hardware management just to get all these submissions through.
And
Because
I think I copied you on my request to them,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
what I'd like to do is take the August session and cover this document, poison document, and the FMFM document, and then we can do the glossary. Like, we need to prioritize, obviously, but
Yeah.
and then we can do the glossary after that. But maybe you and I can talk, and I'm going to be out next week, but I'll be doing a few OCP things next week. I mean, I'm not going to be totally out of the picture, but I am on vacation, and what we can do is try to stack up as many things in as few meetings as possible.
A quick question. So what does it mean to say make a contribution?
So the way it works is you go through a contribution process at OCP that where it gets reviewed by the work stream that you're assigned to, and then when you're done, you can go to the contributions website and they'll say, yes, indeed, this is a vetted OCP contribution. And so, like, I'll put the link.
It's recognized as a OCP document, a
Yeah.
or a document that's contributed to OCP. So
Okay.
it gets
If you wanna-
place at the very minimum.
And if you want to see the contribution we made already, this is a search query. And when the new contribution that we're doing for this doc gets approved, then the new version will also show up. But this is the place where you can search contributions. And I'll go into a little bit more of that today. But the other thing I can show you is here is how to contribute. So what happens? I just paste. In fact, I'll just share this. I mean, I can just share this whole because I'll end up showing you the. Okay, so we have a work stream. Now we're not doing a CLA because we're a white paper and it's not necessary for all types of contributions, but for specs and stuff they require it so that they protect the spec. We don't want people coming back and saying, well, we told you about this for the spec, but we didn't mean for you to actually use it. So the CLA just gets everyone clear in the concept that they're contributing things for an OCP spec that's open. And then we go through a review process. And where we are for the fault management one, let me see if I can find it. Can you see what I'm sharing?
Yep.
Great. I'm sorry. I thought I had it open. Maybe I shared the wrong one. Let me double check. I had the one open for this document. I'm not sure what now that I pull it out. Oh, here we are. This is it. Okay. So the contribution is started for me. So I created a document draft, determined the license, which we're just using the same old license we did before that was in the doc. It's just Creative Commons. That is the suggested OCP license. And it's uploaded, and now I'm waiting on the project sponsors, and it's Jeff Hilland and Himal, I think, to acknowledge it, and then we'll do a presentation to them, and then they'll decide whether or not we approve it. And the steering committee isn't strictly required for a white paper. That's more of a spec review, and but the way it works with an official spec, they have a couple of weeks to give feedback, and if they don't give any feedback, it just automatically gets approved. And so you kind of walk through this process in the portal, and so we have a few more steps, but in the end, it'll be published in the portal as an official OCP contribution. So I don't know if that helps or not, but that's all the fun I've been having this week.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. Driving it.
It's not that hard. It's just,
Started, but
just,
there was a there was a
just
yeah, there was a little glitch, and you took care of that, and so
no
thanks.
worries. Just a little bit grunty. Yeah, I haven't done it
Can
before.
you, sorry, Drew, can you flash the picture of the flow you had flashed earlier?
Oh yeah, let me find it. Well, the first one, this one.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So that's the official flow. And you're saying we're at step 2?
No, we're not doing a CLA, so we're gonna because it's a white paper. So the flows, so it says for specific types for each contribution type. This is just a general flow, and then you go down. There's more, you know. So here's the white paper flow, and so I've reviewed the submission guidelines. I've submitted it to the relevant OCP project. I've created the full draft of the template, determined the license, uploaded the portal, and I had some chats with Alicia from OCP. She can help me make sure I knew what I needed to do. And it's now here, and the product lead is notified, and we're waiting on the project lead. And the project leads for us we're under the hardware. Uh, we're under the hardware
Yeah.
management.
And the completed submission is actually submit the stuff, right? There's no presentation there yet, right?
Well, right, I will present it in the hardware
Exactly.
management work stream, but it's really just, hey, here's what we did, and this is what it's about. And they'll look at it and go, yeah, this sounds like it fits, and they'll have reviewed it beforehand. I mean, and it should fit. It fit like like they have to agree that it fits in their work stream, but they've already agreed that this particular paper fits in their work stream, and the same with the other ones. I anticipate not having a problem because these are work streams that they spun off and they know about.
Okay.
And once it's done, it'll be in the contribution database, and that's the first link I showed you.
And
And
all of this needs to be achieved before it is presented at the summit, at the OCP summit.
well, it's so the problem is that right now, when you get a link to the doc, it is a working doc that isn't really a published, it's not fixed, it's not published. And so to get it to the doc to show up on OCP's webpage in time for us to reference it, it has to go through this process.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to show people our work if it's not on the webpage. So that's really the goal, is get it published officially so that we can start referencing it. And then, obviously we're continuing to work, and we're going to continue to, make changes and improve it. So, I mean, does that make sense? You follow?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. And
So,
oh yeah, so Yogesh, what I was thinking we could do is I could just flash up the doc and talk about where we are. I've basically, I am so happy we have accepted all the changes. So I forget who something stack was. Was that you, Joshua?
Yes.
Thank you for all the cleanups. That was very nice. And it was very, very helpful. And so that was great. And I went through and did I leave? Oh no, that's not a lined out thing. So here it is. I really appreciate cleaning up the. How did you clean up the table of contents? How did you fix the text size?
The only thing I did is I went through the document in terms of the each of the sections and the proper headings, and then it just built properly the table.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then there is a settings on this table, and then you can decide how many levels of heading you want to expose, and formatting, and I just basically trying to be consistent all over the document. That's it.
That's great. Well, it looks good, and you can see everything's accepted. So it's
Yes.
right now, it's a clean doc. Yeah, all the way to the end. I mean, it is
Yeah, yeah.
clean.
Yeah.
And so what I did is after I accepted all that stuff, and there's one case where there was a slight wording change.
Yes. I saw it.
And but aside from that, then what I did is I named the version and said version 1.5.0 cleaned up for release.
Awesome.
So there we have it. This is, I mean, I think we should just, if I would say let's give up on this meeting now and go grab a drink, you know, if we were together and celebrate. But you know, it won't quite work.
So Drew, yeah. So one thing, Drew, at least I, and I suspect some others, might need to get this approved, you know, through our company.
Okay.
So if this is the version, can you maybe, I don't know, can we just send it out in an email or something to make it clear that we're all reviewing the right copy?
Yeah, I mean, whoops. And what I can do is, I think I've already downloaded a PDF. Or Yogesh, do you want to manage that, or you want me to do it?
Yeah, so I can help with that, but Vilas, I think we discussed this before, and I just want to make sure everyone is aligned. So this is if you okay, so intent here is to not having any one company's disagreement with certain parts of document to not make this gating. So what we discussed in past was, and I don't know, Vilas, I think you were there, that we don't want, if you don't like something in the document, feel free to remove your name, your company's name from contributors. Is that too controversial a thing to do? I'm just kind of trying to understand how we handle that.
Right. I mean, I would hate it if that happened, right? I would just say if my name shows up, like I have no problem with anything in the document, right? But I need to get it through AMD approval.
Okay.
So usually this just goes through without any, you know, whatever, without too much feedback or anything. But I just need to do that, right?
Yeah, and you understand my intent, right? We don't want this to be delayed any further than, that's the only.
No, I understand. But
Yeah, it's a standard
can't.
practice.
Yeah.
Sure, I understand, yeah.
So earlier I asked about contribution, and this constitutes a contribution, and a contribution requires agreement by the companies who contributed or withdrawal, as far as I understand. And so we need that same legal approval, and we need that a final copy that we can get the legal to bless and then not have to worry about it.
But
We can't bypass it.
Yeah, but then we had to all sign a CLA, right? It's an agreement on whatever is discussed in this meeting doesn't belong to the company, right? We're working for. So isn't that sufficient?
CLAs, according to OCP, CLAs are required only for specifications. This document is a document category, like a white paperish category, not a spec category. So CLA is not required.
Right.
By OCP.
But that's not the driving concern here, right? The driving concern is, from my perspective, or from my company's perspective, my company's name is on this document. From Dean's perspective, his company's name is on this document.
Yeah.
The company needs to make sure that they're okay.
Yeah, understood. You want it to be reviewed by your legal department, which is fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, we've got a process, but yes, yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think I've shared it, and I'm going to make it anyone that has the link. Yeah, anyone that has the link can comment. Okay, so you can try that link out. This is a PDF I downloaded of the doc. So we've got a frozen copy. It's linked here. mean, I can send an email out on the groups.io as well.
Please send an email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose access to this meeting chat like as soon as I'm off it and I'm on my phone. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
And say, hey, this is the copy, use it for your company's review. Right. And do we want to set a timer on that? Drew, do we need that, or it's a reasonable time to get a response?
I think we're trying to review it this month's meeting. You know, so that's what, the 18th, I think, or something.
yeah, but
But
that,
I
that part's
was
okay.
going to ask
When
the
is
same.
when is the final draft due to OCP for when they put it onto their website or whatever?
Well, if they don't have any comments, this is it.
No, but
we
Vilas
can
wants to know the
expect it
timeline.
more than this month, right, Drew? We can say, okay, we are going to release it to OCP, say on 5th of September, something like that, right? We'll give them the
That's what I'm asking. Like,
Yeah, I don't think
yeah.
the way I understand it is once they approve it, they publish it. So I thought it would be after the 18th.
Let's find out if because this month's meeting is what in a couple of weeks here, and maybe a week and a half, right? So that might be too short for the companies to get reviewed. So let's talk to Alicia and say, hey, if we want to, after the process is complete, if we want to hold the final posting to the contributions portal, say till end of this month, can we do it? Let's find out.
And
Do you mind?
we're not talking about major changes,
We
right?
can do that.
Yeah. Do you mind
Yeah, we can do
doing
that. Sure.
that? You guys, because I'm going on vacation
I
in
know.
a few hours. So
Yeah. No, I got it. Thank you. Yeah, I got it.
What about
Okay.
the?
Hey, I have a question. Are we saying that we do get the internal approval first and then go in front of the steering committee, or this is parallel process that while we get it approved?
And I tell you why, because as far as content is concerned, we all have agreed. We expect the companies to review and say, okay, if some company says like, okay, no, we're not going to go back and make, go in another round of reviews after making changes, unless it's like don't even want to open that
Yeah, like
conversation.
just some legal language, for
So,
example, right? If there is a
so
feedback
no,
like that, will
it is a
that be an issue?
sorry.
Oh, if I'm just talking about, like, say there is a
Yeah,
feedback
so
for
I was
legal
coming to
language.
that only, right? Yeah. So the point is this can go in parallel, but the end result for those who are getting reviewed are one of the two. Either you say, okay, my company is okay with that, or my company is not okay, and I'm going to remove my name and my company's name from the doc. Those are the only two options. We are not going to go through another round of changes and reviews. That's the intent.
well, I guess if there's a minor legal problem and they say you should say
It's going there, but Drew, I don't know. We can cross that bridge when we get there. But
yeah.
let's
Okay.
move
Okay.
on with that
What about
understanding.
the FMFM document and the poison document?
FMFM is the same. Poison was kind of a document I wrote with and you all reviewed. So I asked for a review, but I'm responsible for that. Like I didn't try to do it in a group. I just wanted to, and I'll take the full blame if it's bad.
Yeah,
But
no, I mean, what I mean is like for the FMFM document, is that also in the same timeline and
yes,
okay.
yes. So the FMFM document is the bona fide supposed to be reviewed this month doc, and this doc I'm trying to squeeze in.
Okay. And RAS API is
The
not-
RAS API isn't ready, so it's I mean, like I don't want to really start the submission process until we have a clear line of sight for the timeline. And we're working. I'm not dismissing it by any and it's super important to me. So I'm not even saying it's not important. I'm just saying it's not this far along. So when we get a little further along,
Most likely that will come in next month's meeting, and that also needs to go through steering committee. So there are additional steps for that. There's CLA signing for that. So those processes might take additional months. We might, the worst case scenario, have to do it after the global summit. We'll see.
Yeah, I fear that's the case. Well, I don't love it, but we're just doing the best we can. There's a lot to do. But could you all check your email and see if you got the email and if the link worked?
Yeah,
'Cause
I got the email.
Yeah, I
the
did.
link worked for me.
Yes, Drew.
Okay, so
We
good.
cannot use the document, yes.
Yeah, Vilas, you should have it.
Yeah.
Yep, works
Just
for
got
me
on my
too.
computer. You got it. And the link works. Thanks.
Okay, cool. So we've got the link out, and I think we'll just proceed. And if someone finds an objection, let's get together and figure out what to do about it. But I think the kind of the default is we push this out, and but if there's something reasonable we can fix, we'll fix it.
Yeah, something reasonable that we change after the project management is the hardware management project leads have also reviewed it, so it's kind of a
It may change. Yeah. I don't.
yeah, not ideal, but we'll see. Hopefully that's not going to be the case.
Hey, so I'm gonna assume that there won't be any drastic changes from this point on, based on what we discussed now. So I'm gonna start pointing this document to some of the internal teams, and not from a review purposes, just to get the idea what's coming. Is that okay?
Sounds good. Yeah, that's why I'm doing that already. So I think that's reasonable.
Thanks.
I do.
Cool.
Right.
So
yeah,
oh.
what next?
So one of the things that we've started doing is in FMFM is I started going through the memory scenario. We broke a lot of the scenarios out of the document, so we didn't hold them up. And there'll be scenarios that talk about how handling a memory error that might be appropriate for a whole bunch of our documents. So if we do a good job of documenting those, we can leverage them over and over again. So with the FMFM spec being done, I worked on the memory scenario a little bit, and that's what we're doing. And I talked to Anil. I don't know if he's here today. I haven't heard him. He had something earlier today. It was kind of urgent, but one of the things we talked about here is we might want to go through a few scenarios. There are especially some IO scenarios that he and Mita and I were debating and working through. So that could be a next step. And then obviously we'll have some updates we want to make to the stock. I don't mean to put those off very long, but the goal that I personally have for doing all of this is to get us on the same page so that when we go to our partner companies like Intel and AMD and NVIDIA and ARM and others, that we are more aligned in what we're asking them for, and we have a more common understanding of how things break. So I really like the scenarios because that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. That's where we find out, do we really see things the same way, or what are we missing in our understanding of errors? So if that's okay with you, I'd propose we pick an IO scenario or two or something like that. But if you all have other ideas, we feel free to debate that. I mean, I'm not trying to ram anything down anyone's throat, but I know that IO is kind of a ongoing interesting topic.
PCIe, DPC flow, something like that.
Yeah, like and like yeah, I think Mita, I think that's
DPC
including a
advisory
switch.
non-fatal or root port PIO, like all of those are a little bit, interesting scenarios.
Yeah, so your discussion with Anil was pretty interesting, Mita, and the email conversation you were having, and I thought, wow, I think the whole group would benefit from hearing it.
Yeah, I need to like continue that discussion with Anil. I think he got, I don't know if he's on vacation or got busy, but yeah.
No, yeah, he's around today, but I was in a meeting with him earlier today, and he got called out for something. He had to go drop and go do something else, and I don't know if he'll be here today, but we can make some plans, and I can ping him, and we can even just lay out the scenario and start walking through it, and I guarantee you once we start walking through it, he'll want to jump in and contribute.
Okay, yeah, I can try to like extract it out into a document what we had on the email.
Okay, yeah, that would be amazing, and then we can link it to the scenarios doc, and so I'll paste that link in the chat as well. But and just for the folks that don't remember, what we agreed is that we would have like a high level scenarios document that listed a bunch of scenarios, and then you can, it's like a table of contents, and we can link all the scenarios under that table of contents we want. Let's see. I'm in the wrong window, so I'm racing to find that link. But okay, I mean, I think that would be great, Mita, if you don't mind doing that. And then the other thing I'd be happy to do is talk about poison a little bit as well and present the poison document to folks.
Yep, sounds good.
But I think it would be great to start with the IO stuff. I think that's pretty interesting. But I mean, is that okay with you, Yogesh?
Good idea. How about others? Any other thoughts?
I'm in. Sounds fun.
Okay, I'm pasting this is in the drive. This is the scenario. If you can see my folder here, this is the scenarios folder, and the top doc here is an overall list of scenarios. And then as we define new scenarios, we will put them here. And so I've got the memory corrected error one, and it's linked to this scenario list. And you've got kind of an empty template that I'm not particularly in love with. So if you have a better way to describe your scenario, have at it. In fact, to publish these as contributions, we'll probably have to fix the template anyway. And that's something we need to ask about, Yogesh, is that, like, for most of the submissions or contributions, we have to have the OCP tenants and I don't know, a bunch of boilerplate. What I'd like to do is put the boilerplate in the scenario list, and then as we publish individual scenarios, be able to focus on the technical details. So we may have to ask them for advice. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I think that's probably fine, but I was not sure if we really have all those in white paper kind of thing. Also, I think I have to check. I'm not too sure myself.
Okay, and like for the memory corrected error one, I can just flash that up real quick. The memory corrected error one, I'm trying to show that the different kinds of approaches to handling interrupts. I'm trying to show a scenario in which you have a failure, but you don't really see it because it's not the bits aren't flipped yet. I mean, like you have stuck at zeros and you've written zeros or something, and then the patrol scrubber might see it when you have a bit flip, but you're not actively using it, and so what I'm trying to show is throughout all of these, you might have the same failure, but depending on your usage, you might see a different number of errors. And my point was going to be that it's not the number of errors that's important, it's the pattern. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I can use that with FMFM to encourage people to look at the FMFM analyzers we're building, because those will understand the patterns. So that's kind of the gist of the purpose of that doc. And if we do other scenarios, they can, you can gear them towards areas you think are confusing. So, the DPC, just showing how DPC is implemented would be really, really helpful. And there are tons of I/O points of confusion that we could document um, and educate a large number of people. But okay, well,
Only comment, Drew. I think what where you're going with the document is fine. Only comment, thinking back to the when we originally decided that we are going to do scenarios in a separate doc. I think one of the goals would be to show. Okay, so there is a lot of possibilities here, but one of the major goals, at least in my mind, was to show how scenario is handled using the proposed framework, including
absolutely.
class API and the block diagram that has various.
Yeah, and I need to probably update this document to show that, but I am referencing, like this is going to be tied into the FMFM work and how those
that raises a question in my mind that I was kind of biting my tongue on. Are we trying to show how we exercise the framework? Or are you going to the next level and saying, hey, all these different companies, let's try to have the same policies on how we deal with errors?
Well, so like the analyzers in FMFM, Samsung and Hynix and Micron might each have different policies for their parts. So, but so it's not quite the word. The word policy is a little stronger than my intent personally. In this one, I'm trying to enlighten people about memory errors, show them that they're kind of complicated. But I think Yogesh is right. I'd like to,
Yeah, I
frame
think
all the
you're
problems.
right, and I see that intent very clearly, and I think that's a good exercise to do. But I think I try to take a stab at giving a direct answer to Dean. I think Dean, the exercise is to kind of convince ourselves by running these scenarios, convince ourselves that this framework that we have proposed actually can meet the test of time, right? So it does not, it can support these complex RAS flows and scenarios.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. What I'm seeing laid out and just knowing Drew and how far-sighted he is, he seems to be going further and wanting to talk about all the different kinds of errors and how they can be overlooked or confused and what kind of ways you might want to manage them. And so I wonder, he wants to educate people. Who is he looking to educate? People in his own company, people in multiple companies, the hardware providers?
I think that way I can say Drew is very charitable. He has no restriction on that.
Yeah, and like I had someone at my previous company come up to me one day, and he had worked with a server company, and he's like, "Hey, it's impossible to predict memory crashes. It doesn't work." And he was adamant, and I immediately responded to him and said, "You were counting memory errors, weren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah. Why do you say that?" And my answer was, because that was your first mistake. And he was really taken aback that I'm like, well, yeah, it didn't work because you did it wrong. And he's like, well, he was kind of offended. He's like, how's that wrong? And so I had to walk through how a single stuck cell could generate any number of corrected memory errors. But if you look at the pattern, it's one stuck bit. It's not going to cause a crash with good ECC. But that if you had, errors across multiple banks, that all of a sudden you're now in trouble. So there's some of that I really want to just like lay out there so that we don't, like I saw one major scale up server company try to convince me that leaky bucket counters were their primary RAS solution. And yet the problem is they're even worse than just counting memory errors because they hide the early counts. So I had to go tell them your approach is really, really bad. And they were kind of shocked. So what I'd like to do is just show the basis for Why do you have to look at the pattern? And some of this is in the interest of the memory vendors because they have been stuck with a bunch of part replacements because people count errors and they beg us not to do it. I can't tell you how many times Roy has said, Drew, we shouldn't be counting, memory errors. Look, there's a better way. I can do something very accurate. Just watch me. And
So
so
this is sort of a general purpose education from now to
Yeah.
the end of time on.
Yeah, so let me ask actually, Drew, allow me to ask a question actually to this audience, right? And everyone is contributing. What would you like what would you like the scope of this exercise be? And we can tune, we can, you know, tune, separate out what isn't defined, what is in scope, what is not in scope. What would you like to see? Let's start with you.
Oh, did you say Dean?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
asking you, how would you like to see, like, to make it
I got a one bit
useful,
error on my name. That's why
make
I
it
wasn't sure.
yeah,
Well,
you
I'll
copied
answer
it.
your question a little differently.
Okay.
The question inside ARM will be, how much time do you have to spend and what do you want to spend it on? And I'm not sure
And I'm trying to
that
attack it
writing a
from the
textbook is where I need to spend my time.
yeah, no, I think what I'm also trying to come at the same a goal from a different, slightly different angle. What utility we can provide to the users of this framework out of by creating this additional document, right? So I see that when you started like this is very broad and very kind of covers pretty much every scenario, or at least tries to cover pretty much every scenario. But
it's not every scenario, but it's intended to clear up the widespread misconceptions I've seen as I've spoken with people, and that's fine. Like the FMFM guys are particularly interested in it because the memory vendors uh, are deeply affected by this. So it may be that some scenarios are appropriate for different work streams. And Dean, if you don't want to educate everyone, no problem. But I'll go work with Roy uh, and some of the other folks in FMFM and and come up with a document that we submit through that. But we can link
Yeah.
it to
It's
the
actually something I like doing. The question is, well, there are two. One is, how much time do you have to spend on this given your limited number of cycles? I don't mean you, I mean any participant here. And the other one is, at what point are you giving away your company's advantage and coming out to a playing field where you don't have an advantage? And I know from the hyperscaler side, you want that, but from the provider side, you want to maintain some distinction. And I'm just,
yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
even sure I'm against it. I'm just trying to
So,
figure out where we're going.
I have that same second concern, Dean. And I think the answer that I've used internally actually is actually what Drew just said. They're going to do it whether we like it or not. So it's better for us to be involved.
I agree. I also had
Yeah.
a colleague at my last job who had a wonderful expression. You don't have to give them the stick to beat you with. So
Well, it's
it's a
true,
fine
but
line. It's a fine
it's a
line.
fine
And
line.
and
I agree.
and I'm willing to
But
go
here's
forward, but I just want
yeah.
to make sure I know where we're going.
But
Yeah.
here's so I'm going to tell you what my answer to that is, Dean, is that if I lay out a solid baseline and get a common understanding, then I am raising the bar for the competitors because I'm asking the memory vendors to create analyzers that recognize fault modes in their DRAMs. And I've seen some from some of the memory vendors that are hair-raisingly awesome. And I'm not covering them here because it's their IP. But if I get the basis for that analyzer and make a baseline, if I can raise the water and lift all boats, then for them to compete, they'll go beyond what I do, and that's pretty easy for them to do because I don't know how to map the errors to the silicon structure. They have mats inside their array that are sub-arrays of banks, and those mats are kind of a universal building block for DRAMs in their process. And the way those are organized and the way they're connected and the way the row address decoders work and the way the sense amps work and their sensitivity to different failure modes, all of that's opaque to me. So what I can do is I can show everyone, wait, there's more that you don't understand. And then I can hand it to the memory vendors and say, go compete.
So
Yeah,
Yogesh, are there others who want to answer the question that you put to me? But, I mean, Vila spoke up.
I do. I mean,
so let's hear from Seb and Shubhida and Senthil. Any thoughts? Folks?
I share Drew's opinion that I think it's good to discuss and expose like at least some best known method and on some key scenarios. But I understand Dean's point.
Yeah. So just to add to that, so I'm a software architecture and requirements person, working mostly on the solution side. In terms of scenarios, right, I would like to see different type of scenarios being described here. That gives me more confidence in terms of how this framework can be nicely laid over different type of scenarios, right? So that's what I'm trying to see here. I don't want that to be very prescriptive in terms of specific errors, how that is handled. I'm not really interested in that, at least from my perspective.
Yeah. Well, and I actually agree with you on that. There shouldn't be prescriptive other than don't count. There's something better. That's where I would say.
Well, yeah, I don't know about, I mean, I think what Dean or Yogesh or somebody said originally, right? If this is a way of showing the framework in practice, both for us to ensure that it has legs and to show other people that the framework can work, I think that is a valuable use of time, right? That's a valuable thing to do. When we start, I just call it dictating best practices. I mean, if I just put aside any competitive, industrial concerns and just pure technically, I think that's great, right? I just think, I mean, Dean's point is not a technical point, right? It's a, we have to be, all our companies have to be okay with us saying, putting our name on something that says these are best practices and other companies should do that, right? I actually think that's fine. Like, this is not an area where competition is particularly fruitful, right? So I think it's okay. We just have to all be cognizant about, making sure our companies agree, right?
Yeah, I would go even further, Vilas. If you are in a data center where your competitor's system is in the next 2 years, and that recovers faster for whatever reason, it's all the more reason for you to actually, have this equally.
Yeah.
competitive path.
See, no, I wouldn't actually say it that way, Yogesh, right? So realistically, this stuff is like the brakes in the car, right? You don't go to the dealership and buy a car based on the quality of the brakes, right? But you damn well assume the brakes work. And it's, I think, better for everyone if there's a common understanding of what the brakes are supposed to do and how they're supposed to work.
I think that's true for the fundamental scenarios that Seb referred to. But as you get to more complex things, I agree with Yogesh. There's differentiation. I do care about the quality of brakes. My car has better brakes than the average car because I care about that, and I paid more for it. I think it is a differentiator.
No, I don't disagree, right? And there's a line, right? Like if Drew was saying, hey, let's put an H matrix for an advanced ECC code in here, I'd probably object, right? Or I'd be more concerned, right? So
it's
I get it.
There's not a black and white answer, and we're going to have to work it out as we go forward. But it's good that we're having the discussion. I think it's good.
And let's keep having the discussion. I like it. This is really helpful to me.
Yeah. So can I maybe suggest something, right? So why don't we start it with the understanding that it's going to be that first thing that I think Dean and Yogesh said, which is, showing some examples of how the framework can be used to sort of prove that it has legs. Drew, I think a side consequence of that is that it will demonstrate some best practices, right?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Can I tweak that just slightly? I think that it's not just that the framework has legs. The framework um, has benefits. Like
Yes.
it can actually carry you forward as
Yes.
opposed to just treading water. And
Yeah.
so the beauty of this framework is, wow, memory errors are more complicated than you thought. But look, there's a solution. The memory vendors and CPU suppliers are working together to build tools that will help you make sense of them. Let's use those. That's kind of
Yep.
going to be one of the messages.
I think that's fine. No, I mean, I agree, right? And then, I think each of us will just have to look at it and say, how much are we comfortable with the best practices that are talked about in this document, right? As it evolves. Because I just, Drew, it is going to talk about those in order to demonstrate the framework,
Yeah, I agree. And there'll be some debate about that as we work with our memory partners. So too, they'll absolutely want to have a say in it. So we'll see where we land. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, Dean, does that seem okay to you?
Yeah. I think I'm comfortable with the direction we're headed and why. We'll just have to reevaluate as we go.
Ultimately, you don't want to be detailed enough to exclude anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what will help, Drew, is that we start small, have a very good, well-defined in the scope, out of scope statement upfront, and then take one little toy piece. And of course, the variety of facets or scenarios or what have you can continue to develop, storm and form in parallel, but we kind of try to focus in parallel on delivering these small tie scenarios, which may maybe seem initially very uh, basic, for lack of a better word, but I think that may be a good starting point. So we kind of keep everyone together and make progress, and then we can define as we go how far, where are the bounds, where we want to not go to protect, um, competitive advantages or IP or whatnot.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for that discussion. That was really helpful. So I don't have anything else planned. I mean, the FM folks are working. I'm driving this in FM since memory vendors have the biggest stake, and it really directly applies to those analyzers, which certainly fit into this our framework. But so I think my proposal for this one is we work it out there, and then we can come back and check in with you all occasionally. And you're welcome to join FM. It's an open meeting. And then for this meeting, I propose we try a couple of PCIe things where folks have questions and walk through those scenarios and you get some common understanding and show how this infrastructure works for those.
So do you have actually an equivalent document to this for PCIe devices?
Not yet. So that's what we were talking about. Mita and Anil were having a pretty interesting conversation about PCIe errors, and so I was hoping that if Mita was willing, you could maybe take some of that conversation and put it in the doc. If that isn't too much to ask.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but also based on the conversation we've just had, I'm not quite clear how that would show, how the framework can help in that particular error, but maybe that's something that, just through discussion we might work out, because I'm not sure that scenario would highlight the framework necessarily.
Well, let's try it out and see. I mean, I guess The problem is the questions you were asking about PCIe. There are a ton of questions. Like I had questions. I learned a few things. So let's go through it and see if there's something the infrastructure could do to help with it, and even if it didn't.
Then maybe the framework, we can revisit a bit about the framework. That's what I was saying. It might be that the scenario ends up driving some improvement in the framework.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it may be that we just come up with a common understanding of PCIe errors, and maybe the framework has a limited. I mean, the OS always has to respond to a device it's talking to not working. I mean, well, not always, but if you have a full disk, you need a message saying your write failed, the disk was full, and so the OS has to see stuff like that to tell the things using the device that their operations didn't succeed. So I think it'll be interesting to see if we can. We want to monitor those failures out of band. Maybe not so much disk is full, but if we have a failure in a transaction to a device, like a device accesses something on the host and gets a complete or abort, that's relevant. That's interesting because there was a hardware failure that prevented that device from making forward progress. And that seems relevant to the infrastructure.
Yeah. So just a reminder, if we're talking about PCIe errors, we have to not run afoul of PCI SIG rules, right? So, I think every company on this call is a PCI SIG member. So if you are discussing,
that wasn't the ground rules that we could quote this. We could have references to the spec. We just couldn't.
No, hold on. Right? Yes. So what we cannot do in this call is divulge anything that is not public from the PCI spec, right? Referring to like Linux open source handling an error, fine. Right. Talking about, saying refer to section 7.4 of the PCIe spec version 6.1, fine, right? In this forum, talking about like, oh, hey, the PCI spec says this about completer aborts and blah, blah, that's not okay, right? We can't do that because this PCI spec is only available to PCI members, right? So just, I think it's fine, right? This is a fruitful area. They're generally okay with us, engaging on the RAS side of PCIe. We just have to not violate the legal frameworks, right?
Yeah.
Do you have the same situation with the JEDEC spec for memory?
Yes. But most of this stuff doesn't actually talk about like the details of what's in a JEDEC spec, right? At least as far as I've seen, right? It's just talking about DRAM, and that's fine. DRAM is a technology, right?
We do refer to mode registers that are mentioned in the JEDEC spec, but they're just, but we're not rewriting the spec. And that was the problem with PCIe. The problem with the PCIe SIG came up with another OCP working group cutting and pasting from the spec to build another spec. And we really don't want to do that. And if we talk about changing the PCIe spec, we need to not do that here and have a separate conversation that's under the PCI SIGs NDA, using the standard PCIe processes. So, but if we were talking about, what should a card do with a complete or abort, to some degree we can talk about that because we're not competing with the spec and we're not changing the spec. We're just,
as long as we're not divulging non-public information from the spec, because the spec is not public.
Yes.
And that also applies to mode registers. I want in JEDEC, like that's, so if there are places where it's talking about like this mode register means this, that's probably a problem. So we should not do that.
We'll have to talk about that in FMFM. I think we've referred to mode registers we need to capture. So
I think that's fine, right? Just saying we need to capture MR 14, 15, and 16, or whatever, right? Like that's okay. Saying what they are and what, like that's probably not okay, right? Or saying you need to capture the following kind of information from the DRAM without saying what mode register in is also probably okay, right?
I think we're gonna have to look at that.
Yeah, you please do, because just I don't want to have to go through that again.
I think the last were, if I remember correctly, we're just mentioning names, but yeah, we'll take another look. I think it's good.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
Good discussion, folks. We are top of the hour again. So if there is nothing else, have a good
Yep, I've got to
weekend.
get to my next meeting anyway. So thanks, everyone. And so the contribution is underway. Please review with your companies and let us know what's going on. You know, keep Yogesh and I in the loop, and we'll work to push this through.
Enjoy the weekend.
And and Yogesh, you might be happy to know I've moved from martinis to scotch. So it's time to open the scotch. So
okay, I won't make a statement about tariffs.
It's time. Hey, we just need to enjoy it at the summit. So hopefully I'll be there. Okay, so I really do have to run. Thanks, everybody.
Right, Vilas?
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.
See you.